All right, everyone, it's everyone's favorite time. It's grammar time. And our topic this week is it, it's, or its? So is it possessive or is it a contraction? So let's take a little dive into when it's appropriate to use the apostrophe. So we use the apostrophe to indicate that a noun is possessive. So if you're not sure whether a noun is possessive, you can turn it into an of phrase. And what does that mean? You turn it into a phrase like this: the roots of the tree. So it's the tree's roots. So the tree owns the roots. So the tree is possessive of the roots. Or in a phrase talking about work and day, the work of a day. It's the day's work. The work belongs to the day, so it's possessive. Another time that we use an apostrophe is we would add an apostrophe S if the noun does not end in an S. So, Bonnie managed to clean the children's trays. Or, thank you for refunding Lily's money. The money is Lily's. Lily doesn't normally end with an S, but we want to show that it's possessive, so we would add the apostrophe S. All right. So if the noun is singular and ends in an S, you would add only the apostrophe. So for example, Iris, that name, ends in an S. Instead of adding apostrophe S here, you would simply just add the apostrophe after the S. So Iris's sister, the sister belongs to Iris, so it's possessive. So Iris's sister finished her lunch. Let's take a look at the next one. Chestnut Hills, there's already an S there after Hills. Instead of leaving the S and adding an apostrophe S, we would simply just add the apostrophe afterward. Chestnut Hill's current mayor. Again, it's possessive because the mayor belongs to Chestnut Hills. And then let's take a look at the last one. Systems ends in an S. So if it's possessive, we're only going to add the apostrophe. The food service systems class does well on tests. And I hope that's true of my food service systems class this semester. All right. So if the noun is plural and ends in S, add only an apostrophe. So the classes' pets were home for vacation. The classes is plural. Instead of adding an apostrophe S, we simply just add the the apostrophe after the S. All right. So you would use an apostrophe to show joint possession. And here you would use either an apostrophe S or S apostrophe with the last noun only. So if you want to show individual possession, so in this sentence, Joyce and Greg, in essence, own one computer, right? They own it jointly. So it's just considered an individual possession. Let's read the sentence. Have you seen Joyce and Greg's new computer? So here, there's no S on the end of Greg's, naturally, and it's not a plural noun. So Joyce and Greg. So Greg's is apostrophe S. If you want to make all the nouns possessive. If it's multiple possessions. What do I mean by that? So in the second sentence, John has expectations and Marie has expectations. They both have expectations, and perhaps their expectations are different. So John's and Marie's expectations of the marriage couldn't have been more different. So clearly, John and Marie have different expectations of the marriage. So we would use an apostrophe S for on each of the nouns in that case. So you would use an apostrophe to mark omission in contractions and in numbers. So the contraction is, it is going to be a long meeting. And so to make that contraction, we would just omit the other, the full is, and just put a apostrophe S. It's going to be a long meeting. And then we'll also use it when we make an omission in numbers. So let's take a look at the next two sentences. We'll never forget the blizzard of 78. So 19 has been taken out. The apostrophe replaces that. Or he was in the class of 87. We use the apostrophe to omit the 19. So let's take a look at this now. You would use an apostrophe and an S to pluralize words mentioned as numbers, letters mentioned as letters, or words mentioned as words, and also sometimes in abbreviations. Let's take a look at this. So in this first sentence, the word is maybe, right? That's the word that's being mentioned. We've heard enough maybes. Let's see some action. So the word maybe is italicized first, and it has an apostrophe S in it. But note that the S there is not italicized, just the word is. Let's take a look at the next line. So in that line, the X is the letter that's being mentioned. The line where the children need to stand is marked with large red X's. So again, you would, for that X, that letter, it would be an apostrophe S. But let's take a look at the last line. In the 1990s, we had 78% participation rates. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but one example to this rule, although you're using numbers there, we don't pluralize decades. So we don't use an apostrophe when we're talking about decades. So the 1980s or the 1990s or the 2000s, don't put an apostrophe before the S when you do something like that. And though not written on the screen here, just to give you an example of when you would use an apostrophe with a number. So if you had this sentence, people go through a midlife crisis during their 40s. The 40 as a 40 would be 40 apostrophe S. So people go through a midlife crisis during their 40s. The 40 has an apostrophe S. All right, so some quick common apostrophe mistakes with nouns that are not possessive. And so here's an example. Some teachers are given special parking permits. The teachers aren't, they don't possess anything here. Sure, they're getting a parking permit, but it's not a possession. They don't possess that. So it's not an apostrophe S. In the possessive pronoun it's, right? So it's represents the possessive IT apostrophe S represents the contraction. So this is incorrect. Each school has its own issues. To properly use its as a possessive, it's just ITS. Another common mistake is in the possessive pronoun whose. The course was taught by a professional nutritionist whose specialty is education. WHO apostrophe S is incorrect. Instead, we would put in there WHOSE. That shows the possessive. And then finally here, when we use possessive pronouns like his, hers, its, ours, yours, or theirs, here you would not put a apostrophe after the S in his or theirs or any of that. It just would simply be, I think the coat is his. No apostrophe. Or the dog chased its. It's not, it is, so it would just be ITS. The dog chased its tail. So, grammar, don't we love it? So again, make sure that you are looking over the grammar worksheet that is available in the menu link of the navigation bar. And, trying those. We'll review those when we come back together. But the grammar final will be taken directly. The questions will come directly from the worksheets. So if you're working on the worksheets, that's a good way to do very well on the grammar final.